Hi guys, today's session number 10, it's about planning the report itself. This also goes hand in hand with last session. Like you can watch this first and then watch that one, or watch that one first and then this one. They both go hand in hand. Again, the same document that I talked about last week, we're also going to be using this week. First thing that you have to do is plan what you want to talk about. If you already have a good aim and you have your objectives set and you know your two arguments, then most of your work has been done, honestly. What you have to do in your report is talk about these two arguments, their advantages and disadvantages, the advantages and disadvantages for each argument, to see which one is stronger. So what you need to be doing is starting to collect information and research both arguments. What you can then do is summarize what each, the advantages. You can write it in table form, whatever way you want, and try to mind map and try to organize your thoughts and be like, okay, I'm going to talk about this first and I'm going to talk about this first. You don't have to just talk about argument one and then talk about argument two. You can have them interchanged. But what you kind of have to try to do is to have them flow, one point after the other. It has to make sense. What you can do is try to divide them into headings and subheadings. But since you're going to be writing, for most of you, you're only going to be writing a 1,000 word report instead of 5,000. So it might not be that necessary, but you can have a couple of headings. So a useful page is page 34 of the document from the University of Birmingham. And you can have a look at that. So what you can do is you can break down your aim into other questions. What is this? What is this? What do you need to discuss before discussing this point? And try to make sense of how the flow should be like. I have a good video about this that I did for last year's students that you should also watch. I'll also attach to this document. You have to watch this first. It's about how to write critically and how you can read a certain website, an article from a certain website, and see how their ideas are flowing. It's about nuclear energy, but you can see how it talks about advantages, then disadvantages, then advantages, then disadvantages, this argument, then that argument, this argument, and then the conversation is just flowing. The only thing that's lacking in that article is that there's no conclusion. You have to have eventually a conclusion and tell me which argument you think is stronger based on the research that you've done. So what you can do is you have your aim, you can break it down into different questions. Another example of how to do that is with the exemplar. If you open the IPQ website, the exemplar, the student who got an A-star, you can see everything that he's done in his production log. In his first submission, Record of Initial Ideas is called, he has certain questions. He broke down his aim into several questions. You can see that and you can try to do that, and it will help you know exactly what you should research for and what to write and what to say and answer before the next point and the next point and the next point. It's all up to you. You can do a mind map where you can write down in a piece of paper the information that you know and the information that you don't know. It kind of helps you see if you have any gaps and what you need to be doing and what's missing, what's not missing, you know? Be sure to keep track of where you're getting all your information from. Any information that you get, take a note of that. The best thing to do is have a Word document open with you, like I said last time, where you write down the link or the URL of the whatever source that you're using, whether it's a book or a journal if you're accessing it online, and then write what you're taking from that source. You can then paraphrase it, have it all in one document. Take notes and be like, okay, I'm taking this part, this part, this part. I already said this to you guys many times, but just for emphasis, I'm repeating it. Now, page 35 of the Birmingham Guide, it has certain questions that it's asking you to try to think about when you're writing your essay. Now it says, do I understand what my assignment question is asking? Just to clarify that what they mean by an essay is usually you get a homework or a coursework that you have to do at uni where they give you an assignment and they give you a certain thing that you have to do to write about. And so that's what they're referring to. So what you have to think about when you're reading these questions is think about your aim and what is your aim entailing you to do and what is it that you want to write about. What do you need to find out? You know, the things that you still don't know. What have other people said about this thing, this topic, these two arguments? Do you agree with them or not? Why not? Start to analyze things. So what you also should start thinking about is usually, this is the checklist of when you're writing your essay, your report. You have to have roughly 10% for the introduction and roughly 80% for the main body and then 10% for the conclusion. Conclusion can be longer as well. This is a rough kind of thing that you can follow. This can help you break down things so that your introduction is not too long. What does your introduction entail? You can read that in the guide that I've attached, that I've sent to you guys. what you have to talk about in your introduction. You're introducing the main issues, the two arguments. Then conclusion, you answer that question and you tell me which argument you think is stronger and why. In the main body, roughly, maybe what you can do is divide it into 20% each for each side of the argument. So each argument should have 40%, which is half of the 80%. You want to talk about the advantages of the argument, 20%, disadvantages of the first argument, 20%, the second argument, 20. Then you'll end up with 80%. That's roughly what you can do. So before you start writing, what I recommend you to do is, you've already done your research. You've already started, let's say, this is later on in the future, next month or whatever. You're starting to collect information. You're seeing each side of the argument, the advantages and disadvantages of each argument. What you can then do is figure out what your conclusion is at the beginning. You can write a quick conclusion, very drafted one. The majority of the referencing should be in the main body, by the way. In the conclusion, you just say something. You don't have to necessarily reference as much. You reference usually in the introduction and in the main body, usually. You can read articles and see what they do usually. And yeah, so think of your outline, do the conclusion first, divide your words into different parts so that you know what you're writing where, organize yourself, do bit by bit, slowly, you'll come up with a whole report. You can go above your report by 10% or less than 10%. I'm gonna accept more if you come up with more wording, because I do think that sometimes 1,000 is too little, but you can do more. Try to do your best by researching and finding a variety of resources. And yeah, if you are using graphs or photos from different sources, you need to also reference that and label the figures. The photo shouldn't just be a photo on its own in a Word document. I'll show you how to do that now. So let's say you want to label a picture. For now, you take it, you copy it from somewhere. I'm just going to take a screenshot here and just paste the screenshot. Let's say, right? And then say I want to crop that. For example, let's just pretend this is a photo that you want to mention in your report. Say I want to centralize it. So you cannot post a picture on its own, like I said. So you have to go on references, insert caption. Now, if it's a figure, depends on what it is. You can do that with an equation or with a table. With a figure, it's usually at the bottom. With a table, it's usually at the top. So obviously it's a figure. And you can then tell me this is a screenshot of Word. Just describe what it is. And there you go. This photo will now have this as attached to it as a label. You have to tell me where you got that photo from as well. So it's preferable that you then insert a citation to tell me where you got it from. You can either add one or the one that we used from last time. Okay? And then write and then write